So yeah, Taju, tell me, how is Tjwho circular?
Thank you for having me. Um, I think my very first step or my design methodology, first of all, is I think like well-made clothes never go out of style,
Absolutely.
regardless of. I think the materials you use to construct a garment determine, the how well it lasts in your wardrobe, the longevity and all of that. And I think it's very important. And I think down to the value chain of textile sourcing, it's very important. We take the approach where we actually experiment with even fabrics that people say are not good for the environment. We don't manufacture those, but we see that in the market. So when we go sourcing, the guys in the markets that I'm sure everyone here has attempted, sourcing materials themselves and giving it to one tailor or the other to make something for them. And, you know, you realize those guys have limited information as well. So where we're sourcing from is a limited pool as well of resources. So we have to also educate those people that are finding materials. Because imagine if those guys in the market, we are giving them insights as to what is good, what is bad. They can source better. So that means everyone else ends up, using better materials. So down to the zippers that they source, the linings, etc. Understanding that in a humid weather like Nigeria or Lagos, you can't, polyester or nylon lining is uncomfortable. What they typically use in suiting. Instead, linen will be better for lining to absorb any sweat, etc. Those are the technical parts of fashion that I am really researching more on and learning from because it's very important. Like I'm a very technical designer. It's not just about the finished product. It's not just about making, rather. The process of making is also about the afterlife of the products. So every garment that we make, everything that we sell, every product comes with a manual that even teaches you how to do laundry. A lot of people don't think this is important. But you can buy something, and just because you launder it the wrong way, it ends up looking like it's you bought that 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So learning how to take care of your garments is also the designer's responsibility to teach, the cost consumers how to take care of their garments. So, it's just understanding linen. So, there are like 100 strains of linen. It's not just one type of linen. Some are better hand washed. Some cannot be machine washed. Some can only be dry cleaned, etc. Some you have to iron inside out. If you iron it on the outer surface, it leaves shine marks. That applies to many fabrics and is important for designers have to do research as well and really learn in these things. So that's what we do. And you mentioned something about polyester as well, that you wouldn't buy something that is made with polyester. And polyester is a fabric that we experiment with a lot. I have a jacket here that is 60% polyester, 35% cotton and 5% elastane. And if it's made well, you're not going to throw it away. Yeah. So even though it's polyester, some people have bad experiences with polyester, but I think somebody that understands the technicality, understands how to make it comfortable, how to make it look good forever, would make good products.
Absolutely. No, this has been actually really insightful for me, all that you've said, because I want to make 2 points. The first thing is that when we spoke on Monday, you said that, sourcing is important, but education of the people in the market is so crucial. And I thought about that and I just thought, this is true. They should be in conversations like this, right? Sometimes we keep the conversations, we take the conversations away from the people that matter the most. And I think you're right, and what I like these conversations is that we're talking about circularity, and this is just to give you case studies, examples of how you can be circular in your brand. So what Eki has shared is completely different from what Taju is sharing, but they're both circular brands. And so remember I spoke earlier about maintenance and reuse of clothing, and so Taju is prioritizing that. And so if he doesn't share that information with you as the customer, you'll ruin the garments that he's created so nicely for you. And so these are the elements of circularity. So it's not just black and white, but this is how he fits into the loop, right?
Yeah.
And then what you said about polyester, I think it's key. I think for me, the reason why I personally don't buy polyester is because at certain price points, polyester just does not work, right? And I think obviously I do have some pieces that are polyester, but I think for me it has to be something that, like that coat, something that will be sustained. And I think it's also a personal choice as well. But you're right. I think with regards to construction, material sourcing is important, but also like the technicalities of the garment. And so the conversation around polyester is always a touchy one, because it's never to say, 'cause sometimes that's all you can afford as a brand, but it's, I guess, what you do with it and how you make it. And if that piece will have a life of its own after, right? So let's say you want to give it a second life. You know that it can decompose because it's plastic, but there are multiple ways that you can still use that.
Yeah.
And so I like that also with a brand like yours that says, you experiment. I like that word, we experiment a lot with polyester, because for me that means that you're taking the fabric, which some might condemn and say it's not sustainable, it's not great, but you're showing that it can have a life, it can have a double life, right? So it's been created, and I love what you said, because you were like, we didn't create it, really, we're just going to the market to source it, but at the end of the day, it's been created, so somebody has to use that, right? Somebody has to use it, but now, because throwing it away is waste, right? So taking it and re-engineering it and redesigning it and giving it life, so that someone that buys it, regardless if it's polyester or not, will take it on. So I think that's really, really brilliant.
So one more thing, I was also fortunate enough in October to I did a factory visit in Portugal. I visited a company called Valerius 360, and they recycle polyester.
Right,
they recycle polyester and cotton. They take a lot of, they get shipped wasted garments or unused garments. They sort it by color and by material, polyester and cotton only, and they break it down to the fibers and re-yarn it. They even make paper out of cotton. It's incredible what they're doing. So making people aware of this as well is really key, because a lot of people think polyester is not going anywhere once it's, but this company has found a way to do it. So I think a lot of people should reach out to them as well. Even if they want to use scraps to make things, they have bales of that, like in a large factory, and it's dead cheap. So that's one way. So I think that's something.
There's something actually called chemical recycling, which pretty much is I guess using chemicals to break down fabrics and fibers, and then drying them and then re-engineering them for into new textiles. So obviously there's so much innovation and that for me is like, I'm always trying to see how can we access those innovations here locally, because first of all, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. These things are already happening, but they need to happen in more controlled spaces and settings. And visionary brands like you, like Eki, like Ebuka are sort of people that are already thinking. I think for me, it's the consciousness that's the most important thing. Once you're thinking more critically around design, right? That's the first step.
And I think something I and my team also decided to do, like moving onwards from 2024, is to, in our entire collection, I think it's something that brands, like many other brands, should also adopt, is even if you have 15 looks in your collection, try to make one out of like repurposed fabrics, or that's it's not a lot, but it does something. It also shows you, challenges you in ways that you wouldn't expect. You'd realize, okay, you could actually make nice things out of existing things.
Absolutely.
And I think if all brands adopt this, like, it should just become a thing. Like if you go to any fashion show or every brand's collection, there's one garment out of the entire collection that is at least made from, repurposed, whether you patchwork denim or it was polyester fibers that were recycled. it makes sense, like that we should all adopt something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that Unko said. She said there's so much secondhand clothing in the markets anyways, so that's always a good place to begin.
Yeah. I heard a quote from a friend. She was like, if we truly want to be sustainable, like, then we shouldn't be making any new clothes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you know?
A friend of mine
so
said
we
that
actually,
as well.
you know, we're not going to start there because this is Nigeria. We don't have the infrastructure to, you know, do things the way that we wish. But I think it's a step.
Absolutely.
It's a step in the right direction to.
Yeah, I had a friend actually who said, because I'm really into textiles and textile development. I'm always trying to create new textiles, and he said, well, any sustainable textile, quote unquote sustainable textile you're trying to make is still a new textile. Yeah. The textiles that exist already are more sustainable than the new one that you're trying to make.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's, you know, there's a lot to debate. It's, you know, that's why I always say with sustainability and circularity, it's not black and white. There's these gray areas that, you know, depending on where you're from, your culture, your city, your infrastructure, it means something different. Yeah. So thank you so much, Taju. Thank you.